Yeah.
All right, guys, ready?
Oh, I know.
All right, we're gonna call this thing to order.
Sir.
There we go. In
like
Shane's
that.
absence, we're gonna let Phil lead from start to finish.
Awesome. Thank you and welcome. We will work our way through our agenda today. You have an agenda in front of you. Minutes, treasurer's report. We've got 11 grants to review today. I have 4 requests internally and then a couple of project updates. So we'll work our way through that. And we're going to remind you, we'll meet back here again next Thursday at the same time for the grant recommendations to council. You have in front of you, yes, and we will, according to our bylaws, our ordinance, the first meeting of every even-numbered year, we do officers. So next Thursday, we'll do the election of officers as well for the PRT commission. So the first thing on your agenda today is the minutes from November 17th. You should have them in your packet in front of you. I'll give you a minute to look at those, and then we'll take a motion in a second, or edits if you have any.
There was something on the minutes, on the proposed, schedule of, the meeting dates. I had put February the 18th, I think, initially, but obviously we're not doing February the 8th. So I had February the 17th.
Right, and we
Then
changed that
changed
to
it
the
to-
24th.
Right.
And I've already sent out that annual report, so,
We're okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We will make that change on this, the back of your minutes where it says proposed schedule. It should be February 24th and March 3rd as the first 2 meetings, instead of, we pushed it back a week.
That's what I see on mine.
On your minutes.
If there's no edits, is there a motion to approve as amended? Does that change?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Unanimous. You also have in front of you the treasurer's report. Local ATAX treasurer's report. You see your encumbrances there, the total listed, and then the balance, $560,280. I'll go in more detail in May, at our May meeting about the data. It's still on the climb, our local ATAX, and so that's the reason we're able to do some of the things that we're doing right now. And I think you're gonna like some of the pictures I'll show you later. On the state ATAX side, it is also up. It's about 30% up this year, and it was up almost 30% last year. So that money also will be put towards some capital projects in addition to operating Visit Oconee. So we're able to capitalize on that and again, not hit the general fund with some of those requests and be able to tackle them through this process. Any questions on your treasurer's report?
Looks good.
That's excellent.
Good. All right, today, as we go through the grant cycle, we've got 11 total grants. We have a big number this time. We have 119,369 in total requests. After I went through and looked at some things that weren't quite eligible, based on percentages, there's about 106,877 in eligible requests. Because we've done well, I'm gonna bump that up, what we can dole out today or recommend next week, to $60,000. So, as we've done really well with that money coming in, we also want to do well with it going out, not just internally, but with our nonprofits and partners that throughout the industry. So I'm going to recommend $60,000 to you for next Thursday. Just keep that in mind as we go through this list. Here's a breakdown of that list of the 11 grants. And unless there's any specific questions, we will take off and begin a review of each one. Any questions before I do that?
I put a note in your packet about some of the grants had so many graphics, And we're running low on ink, and it's really hard to get ink cartridges. So if you want to see the graphics, it's just pictures
We
of
can just click on it.
last year's events mostly. But if you do want to see it, just let me know.
Just a heads up, I will not be here next week.
Okay.
So,
Then you don't get to be secretary. I forget where.
Automatically voted.
it'd be the only one I've
secretary.
missed. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town.
Very good.
All right, so we'll go through, I have a slide for each grant. The first one is Lake Hartwell Country. This is for marketing and advertising. They're requesting $15,000, specifically for Blue Ridge Magazine advertising as well as targeted social media campaigns. All of you are aware of Lake Hartwell Country. They're a state-sponsored scatter region, Association of Tourism Regions throughout the state, and they're responsible for marketing Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens counties. So that's kind of a regional partner of ours. We have two. We're one of, our three counties has two scatter regions we fall into, and you'll see both of them with a request today. The other one being Discover Upcountry. They have a total marketing budget of $110,000, and based on what they're asking for and how much they're putting in themselves, they are eligible for the entire $15,000. Any questions on Lake Hartwell Country?
It says in spring of 2020, we did 5,500. What was our total for that session?
Total that we gave out?
Yes.
Give me 1 second.
I just believe 60 this time is much higher than
it-
previously.
We did 40 that session.
40, okay.
Good question.
And it was advertising again for that cycle.
And they're eligible to make requests to Anderson County and all
And
as
they
well.
do, Anderson and Pickens.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Any questions on Lake Hartwell Country? The next one is the South Carolina Apple Festival in Westminster. This will be the 60th year. This is specifically for print, radio, and TV advertising. They were named a couple of years ago one of the top 100 events for the American Bus Association. Average about 15,000 over 2 days. Per their application, about 20% of their visitation is tourists. So you can see how I came up with that number, 20% of their total budget. So they're eligible for $7,383 of the $10,000 they requested. And you also have a sheet that I put together, kind of something for you to make notes on for next week. An Excel sheet that I gave you. If you want to make notes on that, that will be helpful for us next week when we get back together to be able to work our way through the recommendations. Any other questions on the Apple Festival application? The next one is Discover Upcountry, South Carolina. This again is marketing and advertising. They're the other scatter region. They're responsible for regionally advertising the 6 northwestern counties. So Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, Graham, Spartanburg, Cherokee. So they do regional advertising. A lot of the things that Ken does with Visit Oconee are partner ads with both of those regions. So instead of any of them paying a full page ad, they'll all partner and break that up and regionally advertise. This is a campaign for the collateral and items listed. Southern Living, Travel Guide, Georgia Magazine, SC Living, Newcomer Magazine, Georgia Magazine, AAA, AAA Go, and the Angler Magazine. Their annual marketing budget is $245,000, and you can see what you've provided them through the previous 2 years. They are eligible for the entire $15,000. Any questions on Discover Upcountry application? Okay. The next one is the Upstate Heritage Quilt Trail. I think I saw that they're up to 260 in that application, quilts around the region. A tremendous product that we get questions about on a regular basis, but this is $3,399 to go toward rack cards, website, social media, and interpretive signs. You've probably noticed at some of the quilts, they started putting up an interpretive panel beside it to help kind of tell a story. So this will help, I think, with 12 of those, and then the other goes towards some of the marketing collateral you see there. You can see their total annual budget for marketing, and then the 40% of that. 40% is that number we use when we don't know. That's kind of what we see across the board here in Oconee. And so they are eligible for the whole $33.99 based on that. Any questions on the quilt trade? All right, the next one is the Oconee Military Museum, right here on Short Street. They are requesting to start a three-phase project to replace all the windows. If you pay attention to that when you go by, there's like 40 windows in that building. So it's gonna be an expensive project. The phase one, they're looking at a $15,000 project. I met with him last week to go over the details of that. They do a tremendous job there. Their tourism visitation is about 41%, so they are eligible for $6,150 of the money they're asking for based on phase one project. So he'll come back once they finish phase one and go to phase two. He's doing so many windows each phase, so he's trying to work his way through the process. Any questions on the Oconee Military Museum application? Okay, the next one is the Berkeley Strickland Cultural Museum. Also an advertising request for the second Juneteenth Festival. This is specifically for TV and digital TV with Channel 7 and CW2. You can see the total project budget there and the estimated impact per their application. So they're eligible for $14,505 of that $15,000. Any questions on that application? Okay. Next one is Main Street Walhalla. This is an advertising grant to buy new light pole banners throughout downtown. If you will notice in the grant, there's several different layouts that they have put together that will cover the whole year. They'll use those in addition to the Oktoberfest and the Mount Black Park banners to keep banners up all year. The total budget is $10,484. So they're eligible for $4,200 of that request. Any questions for the city of Walhalla? The next one is Rock the Ranch Music Festival. We have provided them a little funding in the past. This is a $5,000 request. You can see their total budget of $26,200, excuse me. They were one of the events that canceled during the pandemic. And so they were awarded $2,000 in 2020 when they canceled. They have pushed that forward, written us a letter, we've allowed them to push that forward. So they're actually eligible for $5,240 based on the total budget of the festival. But because we've already given them $2,000 and they have that in their bank account, they're eligible for $3,240. So that gives them the maximum amount for the festival.
Where does that take place at? This event?
Charlie B's Ranch off of Snow Creek Road.
Okay.
And there was a picture, if that picture didn't come through on the application, there's a picture in the application of the kind of the layout and stage. If not, we can email it to them. I probably have it in mind.
I've got it.
Can you see that, Sean?
Yeah, I can, yeah. Okay. It's true. Yeah.
It's in a hole. It's stages, and then there's a hill where the trees are. And
Okay.
you sit under the shade until it cools down in the evening, and then.
And the stage is like at the bottom. Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Any questions on Rock the Ranch application? The next one is the City of Walhalla. This is for a transportation shuttle to use during festivals and events to move people through downtown. It's a $9,500 request. It's basically for a minimum type golf cart to utilize for festivals. Because of the impacts unknown, I used the 40% number of the cost. So they're eligible for $6,000. There are two requests from Walhalla this time. We've got the pole banners for the lights and this. I did have a conversation with Libby, and if needs to be one or the other, the pole banners would be their choice.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind for next week. We may have enough to provide a little bit to each, but that's where they would like to spend the majority of their time right now.
But aren't those two separate entities?
It's Main Street Walhalla and the City of Walhalla.
Right, aren't those two separate
Main
entities?
Street Walhalla
Main
is
Street, Main Street's under
a
Seneca,
subsidiary
right?
of the City of Walhalla.
I'm sorry, under Walhalla.
Yeah.
Okay. Because,
But yes, it is two separate grant applications.
well, yeah, but, okay. Two different people sitting in.
Yeah.
So that's allowed to like, cause Main Street's under City of
It
Walhalla, right? Okay.
Yeah, like we could have, and I'll just pick Seneca City, we could have both of their museums apply for something.
Okay.
Or them plus a festival. Any other questions there? Okay, the next one is the Oconee County Chamber of Commerce. This is for visitor center staffing. This is a request of $20,000 to staff someone at a visitor information center in Westminster. And I'm assuming that's the depot location, Crystal?
It will be in City Hall until 2023. At that point, the lease that they currently have with First Steps will be up and we'll be able to move in there.
Okay. So that will be focused on Westminster and then also provide chamber support through the Oconee Visitor Center here in Walhalla that we just moved to Main Street. So Ken's office is now on Main Street here in Walhalla. So the total budget of that is $38,100. I had a conversation with Crystal. She feels like the breakdown of that position would be about 80% devoted to visitor services. So that's the number I used. So they're eligible for the whole $20,000 based on that.
So this is definitely to make sure that there'll be one person staff for Westminster and then just ancillary support for Walhalla for visit
Yeah.
as well, backup, or I guess.
And you're welcome to come up and answer questions. I can answer or let Ken answer for us.
Okay.
We want to be a partner with them and provide if there's chamber information to give out. You know, they can fill Ken's office and we can help hand it out. But their application was to split that position
Okay.
between the two. I think probably you're going to be Westminster more first.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yes. Because we already have the location determined in Westminster, we could immediately put someone in there, so they would primarily be there. Our feeling is that in regards to questions regarding businesses and from visitors, I get a lot of people coming in now that ask for particular types of businesses,
Yeah.
particular types of service, and that's where we could provide the additional support to visit Oconee.
Just a guesstimate, how much of an impact do you think it'll have in terms of being a benefit for the city of Westminster? To be able to have a presence there?
Recently, I had a meeting with some of the business owners in Westminster, and they are fully supportive of us being back there. They think it's a critical part of the partnership with the chamber, and they have not had that for a few years. Usually the city leaders, Kevin Bronson in particular, I've met with him a number of times, and they're excited about the chamber coming back because they know that'll be a huge boost to the entire community.
And I think it'd be a great thing because, you know, with the growth that Seneca's been seeing in Walhalla, I have ties to Westminster, and this means a lot for me, to be able to get someone there that can help boost economic support in that city.
Any other questions for Christian?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the grant itself? Okay. The last one is the Valhalla Performing Arts Center. This is advertising for the 2022 season. You can see their total advertising budget. The tourism impact, consistently above 60% of their sales are outside of Oconee. You can see their support for the previous 2 years. They are eligible for the entire $12,000 based on the advertising budget and their impact.
A quick question, so, maybe not so much tied to this, but when we had our last meeting about their emergency request, did you ever get an update from them about how much that was able to assist them?
It was able for them to continue booking events.
Okay,
So, and you'll see that the winter 2021, I've got it noted on here, that $25,000. And yeah, that allowed them to continue booking through the year and not depleting, because they were getting down to deplete their reserves based on the pandemic and the lack of attendance. They're starting to pick back up, that provided them a boost because there's so many deposits. Riley knows more than I do whenever you book somebody.
yes.
But to be able to book somebody and keep that going.
You also talked about last time about how, because I think we had talked amongst ourselves about how it wasn't a common thing for an emergency request from an entity, so have we now come up with a process for determining who gets what in an emergency, like what's deemed an emergency situation to provide assistance, you know?
Yeah, we typically, before it even comes to a commission for an emergency request, they would have had a conversation already with myself and the administrator to determine the best way, one, if we can or should help them, and two, what is the best way we can do that.
Okay.
And so that's how that request got to this commission last time. So they'll all be vetted before they come to you to determine should we assist and how the best way can we do that.
Great.
So that's all 11 grants. Again, you've got that sheet that will help you. I tried to put on there what was eligible also that would help you. And next Thursday, when we get back together, we'll quickly go back through them again and then start the kind of discussion phase of making recommendations on how we can proceed with up to $60,000. So any questions on those 11 grants? Last chance for today. Nope. Alright, so we're gonna go into this, I got a bunch of projects going on, which is really good. Again, a lot of this is tied to our increase in local aid tax and our ability to have our capital millage as part of our budget process. The first one we'll share with you, I got 4 requests. You've already done 2 with this. This is the final. This is the building before we ever started. You can see the old siding from, gosh, that was probably the 70s when that thing was built. And then here's an updated picture of where we are today.
Don't look much better.
So, we have a new roof, we have new windows, the siding will be next, and then, there's a much expanded deck on the lake side of the back. We have new electrical, inside, and there'll be new audio-visual inside. So we anticipate this becoming a more year-round usable space rather than just a summer space, seasonal space. So, the first request for you today is the final phase of that. We anticipate this whole thing, we're gonna do it for right around $225,000. We may be plus or minus 1,000 or 2 by the time a few of those final things come in. But this is the final request for the $75,000 for the LAT to finish that project. And we've pulled the money as we've done the work. So you've seen the couple come before, and this should finish it up. We're hoping for this building to be done by June 1. So that's for your consideration today. Any question or concern on that? We're gonna vote on these four today.
Okay,
Okay, just do it one at a
So
time.
if there,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
any other discussion?
It's looking good.
All in favor of that? Awesome, thank you, yeah. When it's finished, it will, if you've seen the office we built there, it'll have the same siding as the office, so everything will kind of begin to match. And then we'll only light one building there, and then we're starting to move our way to the other parks, so it's really good. Second request is a turbine blower. This is a replacement part. It's not the tractor, it's just the blower on the front. This will be for High Falls and the Lake Hartwell landings. All in total, we have about 18 parking lots and several miles of road to keep load off. That's not efficient to try to do with a backpack blower. So this has been a great piece of equipment for us, and we are in need of retiring one that's been with us for probably 8 to 10 years already. So it gets used during the season and during the fall just about every day. So this is a $7,500 request to replace that piece of equipment that will go towards all the ramps on Lake Hartwell and High Falls Park.
I say we make a motion to approve the 7,500 for this High Falls blower attachment.
Second.
Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor? Thank you. The third one, this is some pictures, because this is also an ongoing project. If you're familiar with the Alexander County Mule House, it used to sit where Duke Energy sits, right below where the dam is now, between Lake Kiwi and the upper arm of Kiwi River. It was moved to High Falls Park back in '70s, when Duke Energy was built and taken over by the park. Through the years, it has had a number of things done to it. This is some pre-existing pictures. They had put sheetrock up, they had painted floors, they had built walls. And so we have long wanted to do a preservation project and kind of take it back to the 1830s era that it was and utilize it as an interpretation piece for our park system. And so we have started that process. We're actually using some contractors through Lake Hartwell Country. They have some specialty on staff for historic preservation. And it was a booger to get all that paint off the floors. We've taken all the sheetrock down. We've worked on the walls, reconditioning the walls. And here's some updated pictures as we work our way through it. Mandy's office was in there for years, so it looks a lot different, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's High Falls side,
Yeah, that's High
but
Falls.
still, it looks
So
great.
we did a grant, you guys did a grant for us, I don't know, back in May, I think, for this first phase.
Yeah.
This is the public side. This is where customers come in, register for camping, buy their goods, a little marketplace. And so the request today is to continue that restoration through the other side of the house, which is the staff side of the house. And then the goal is going to be to move the staff upstairs and utilize the whole bottom floor for interpretation. And then maybe one day, if we ever build a new office over there, the entire house will be open for interpretation. So we'll just keep picking our way through the project. The South Cove project, this project is minus a little bit of technical support, is all being done with our staff through the off-season. So we utilize our staff between us and facilities to do a lot of this work. So this is a request for $15,000 that we will continue to work towards. Again, the labor is taken care of, but this is the products. So your conditioners, your flooring, your finishing, things like that. So this is a request to continue that preservation effort at the Alexander County Hill House.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 15,000.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
It looks great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
looks really good.
Absolutely.
Staff did a tremendous job on that.
Yeah.
Is there, quick question about
Yeah.
this, so is there any because of its historical, I guess, relevance, will Oconee History Museum be able to work with y'all on this as far as like maybe?
Sure,
It's
and
virtual, you know, things like
they
that,
have been a
yeah.
part of the process in terms of some of the finishes and the conversation.
Yeah,
But yeah, the house is on the National Register already, and so this is just another, kind of taking it back to era period for the interpretation piece. We do still have some family members from Cannons who will come. I don't know how many years ago it was, they actually did a family reunion there.
About 10,
Probably 10 years
11.
ago. But it's nice for them to come back and see, because they remember the house originally had a cellar. It was an external entry cellar when it was over on Duke Energy property. When they moved it, they took it off of that and just set it on a base. And so we're trying to, we can't build a cellar under it anymore, but we have added the porch onto the back to get it back to its existing shape, and then beginning to work on the inside a little bit. So appreciate your support on that.
yeah.
The last one is an internal request. This is $5,000 to go towards the Race to Valhalla gravel cycling event. You can kind of see the Southeast Gravel. This is event 3 of 6 in their series. They expect about 500 riders. This is May 5th? 7th? First weekend in May. They have 2 courses, a long course and a short course. This will be their 2nd year in town, and we're hoping this continues to build. You'll see on our events coming up a number of cycling things that we work through the county. So this money particularly would go towards the support, because this is being partnered with a downtown festival so that everything can happen in downtown Walhalla. So this $5,000 will go towards the support of what's needed to host that race and that many people in town. Should be a really good economic impact for the town for that investment.
Where do they ride? Just out of curiosity, 70
So
miles is
if
a long
you go to
way.
their website, you'll look, they've got the maps drawn out, and the only thing that's not on there is on race day, they've got permission to do a couple private property runs. Most of it's gravel once you get up into the Forest Service roads. They want to ride on gravel. I don't want to.
Sounds tough, that sounds tough. 70 miles, that sounds pretty tough.
Wow.
Yeah,
So this has no connection to like Stump House?
no.
No, so it's totally separate?
Yep.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
May I make a comment?
Absolutely.
This will be the 2nd time they've been to Walhalla. The first time they came, they met at the school off of Coffee Road. And this organization, we've done a lot of bike rides here in Oconee County. This organization was completely turnkey the first time they did it. When I spoke with them, they were just asking for some support on site, but typically when you do a bike ride, you got a whole group of people, and it takes a lot of time. They had already contacted the school, they had already contacted the city, they'd done all this work, and it was turnkey. We didn't have to do anything. Charlotte and I went out there just to get some pictures and see how it was running. It was a very smooth event. I mean, they came in, set up the tent, did the ride, took down the tent, and went home. So, and it was, over 300 people on that particular ride. That was the first one they did.
Awesome.
Wow.
Nice,
Yeah.
real nice.
Yeah, this is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, with this and I think the extension of Stump House from 10 to 20 miles, if I'm not mistaken, there has been approved. Yeah, the Greenway that they're working on, I mean, this is tremendous for Walhalla. Absolutely.
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to approve the $5,000 for the Race Valhalla gravel cycling.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome, thank you. The last is a project update on Seneca Creek.
Nice.
The top left picture is the old ramp,
Oh,
beaten to death.
yeah.
You can see, and I'll go kind of clockwise, the top right is the gravel base we put down. The bottom left is it ready for concrete, and then the bottom right, at 4 in the morning last week, we started pouring concrete. The first run is 100 yards. There's 2 ways to do this. You can either coffer down the lake and frame down into the water, or you can push it in. Well, it's a lot cheaper to push it in. So because of the slope of the lake in this particular spot, we were able to prep the area in the water. So they basically took a long arm excavator and laid out rows of gravel so that as they push this in, it creates its own bed of gravel down through there. So if this works, I got a video for you.
You should've got a bunch of bikers to push that on that gravel. Bulldozers are struggling, those bikers have no problem on that gravel. That's impressive, though.
That's nice.
Yeah, they push them, they push them.
That's the first 75 foot of water.
Okay.
That was on Monday morning, Tuesday morning,
This may or may not be a question you can answer, but the end of that concrete is roughly how deep at full pool?
the back of that yellow pylon is about 14 feet deep.
That's great. Because that's a pretty level spot right there.
It is. and
It's hard to
we
get,
will-
it's hard to get it too deep
We'll
with the,
push another 30 feet in Monday, and so we'll have over 100 feet in the water.
that's awesome.
The bottom of the ramp will be secured, and then it also has a curb at the bottom. So the original ramp did not have a curb. If you got it into it during a drought, wheels just went off, and you had to, work like crazy to get your trailer back up. This one has a curb at the bottom that you will hit before you go off the ramp. So major improvement for Seneca Creek, and again, estimated timeline for this project is still December of '22. A lot of site work you'll see starting in March. So very excited about that project.
How do they put the slabs together?
Like the first and second pour. So you see the
See the rebar sticking out there?
that stayed out. So they frame the next section, and they just continue tying the rebar together. So the rebar holds that stuff together, and then the bonding agent between the two helps hold it together. So you'll have a seam there, but it will bond, and the rebar holds it together.
Just as an added comment too, I know this is gonna be great for recreational use, but it's also a huge factor for us recruiting larger
Oh,
bass
absolutely.
tournaments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've been waiting for this for many, many, many years. And we missed a major bass tournament last year because we didn't have this in place. And Clemson was shut down, and we couldn't access the other marinas. So this will open it up to some major bass fishing tournaments on Lake Hartwell, which make us competitive with what Anderson has now,
Nice.
the Bassmasters Classic.
And to highlight that, we have already signed our first contract on this part for October of 2023 for a regional fishing event in Hartwell.
Who's doing this? Who's the contract?
Our major contractor is the Belt Company out of Anderson. The concrete is Hicks Concrete out of Toccoa, and then Miller's Construction did the grading.
Can you talk a little bit about the parking that will be associated with that?
Yeah, I think most of you have seen aerial pictures, and I'll do a better job as we work through the project. So we're gonna have 50, on a daily basis, you'll have space for 50 boats and trailers in that location. Now you can put like 5, depending on who parks first. But you'll be able to put 50 in there. There'll be 4 docks. There'll be 2 docks that go alongside that parallel this ramp. So you got about 180 feet on each side of this ramp for 2 parallel docks. You have a floating fishing pier that will also be in place, and also a floating kayak launch. So it really creates a whole new access point for Hartwell there near campus and on that end of the county.
And is Clemson providing security? for that?
So as part of that project, a portion of this property is on university property. So we will be adding security cameras. This will be our first park with security cameras that will be monitored by Clemson Police, which is located across the street. So we're in conversation with them now on running fiber, water, and our sewer connection for the restroom that will house the video cameras that will be monitored by Clemson University Police Department.
All right.
For fishing tournaments, Upstate parking, if you're familiar with Upstate parking, the Seneca Creek lot is right across the road. There's a project with Clemson Facilities to build a much larger location of facility work right there.
It's gonna be huge.
And I was in a meeting with them yesterday.
Okay.
So we will, there's a potential for the Seneca Creek Road to be rerouted just a little bit. And our driveway will be a little bit longer, but we'll still have access to that Upstate parking area for fishing tournaments. So we'll set up the event itself in the parking lot. We'll park everybody in the Upstate lot and just shuttle the anglers back and forth to the lake. So it's gonna work out really well for us.
I mean, that's just getting this all redone at that location is so huge. I mean, because the airport's just not far away from there.
Right.
And there's already talk, I think, Georgia Regional Sewer Authority, I think there was a particular group that was thinking about doing construction in between, kind of like where, was it Paul's Diner up to the 9-3?
Yeah.
So that area of Eastern is filling in rapidly,
Yeah.
rapidly.
Here's our upcoming events. You can see bass fishing and cycling are hot topics for us this time of year. So those are the items that are upcoming. Spring break programming, our staff will be doing that at all three parks. And then just our meeting schedule. Again, next Thursday, March the 3rd, back here, and then May, 2 in August, and 1 in November. Any questions, concerns, discussion items, anything to put on the next agenda that I don't have?
Leave that up for a second, if you don't mind.
Well, you should,
Say what, I'll adjourn and then put it back up.
you,
Okay?
you
That's cool,
have
yeah.
the new sheet in your packet.
If there's no other discussion, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Same thing.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you all very much.
Just as a